The woman that we meet tomorrow should no longer there.
He used to come every Sunday. And then after maybe some hours of checking, we take the lady.
There was a lot of blood in that room. A slaughterhouse.
I find the accused guilty of murder, guilty of rape.
If he was not caught, he would have continued and would kill more. It was not done.
Downtown Johannesburg. Life here is especially harsh for women. Desperation pushes many into sex work where danger is ever present. Vulnerable to violence and exploitation, they live each night on the edge with no safety, only with the fear of what is to come. Something especially true when there's a serial killer on the loose.
My mother was a very lovely person, outgoing, outspoken. She loved dancing.
She loved life.
Very much loved life.
In September 2022, 𝗀𝗀𝗆𝗀𝗆 Khumalo's mother, 𝗀𝗁cie𝗍𝗆𝗶𝗆, went missing while working on the streets.
So you knew that your mother was a sex worker. How did that make you feel?
Obviously, that's not something that I can be proud of, but at the end of the day, she's still my mother. And I'm gonna love her with whatsoever she's doing. She was not just my mother, she was my friend. Me and my mom would call each other every 1 hour, 2 hours, just to check up on each other.
When she didn't call as usual, it set off immediate alarm bells.
We were going to the mortuaries, to the police stations, hospitals, calling people, her friends, telling her, if you see her, if you hear anything from her, please tell us. Walked in the streets, went to report her missing.
Now, the gruesome discovery of dead bodies in a vicinity made on Sunday when police were called to investigate. The bodies are believed to have been those of sex workers. These bodies were found.
In October 2022, a month after 𝗀𝗁𝗆𝗀𝗆𝗀𝗆𝗀𝗆 disappeared, the bodies of 6 female sex workers were discovered at this panel beaters in downtown Johannesburg. A gruesome find that dominated national headlines. Captain Vincent Saunders led the investigation.
Our biology unit was there. Dog unit was there to take photos, to take DNA.
Captain Saunders called in top detective Sergeant Prince Mbonambi to examine the crime scenes.
There was that smell that it stayed with me for months.
𝗀𝗀𝗆𝗀𝗆𝗀𝗆𝗀𝗆's worst fears were confirmed. Her mother was amongst the victims found.
At that point, had you accepted that that was umama there and she had passed away? Or are you thinking, yes, umama, uzovela somewhere, she's going to appear, because that was not her?
I didn't accept that she was the one. Just hoping that, okay, one day she's just gonna show up.
The prime suspect was the son of the panel beater's owner, 19-year-old Sifiso Mkhwanazi.
Tell me your impression of the accused.
He's not a person of speaking a lot of words. Very calm, very quiet. He comes as a person very cold.
Under the cover of darkness, Mkhwanazi stalked the streets on the hunt for vulnerable sex workers.
So what usually he will do, especially on the weekends, he will just wait for everyone to go, and then he will use his father's bike that was parked in the factory, and then he will just go to the street randomly, so he will pick up a person.
I just saw him enter with, I'm not sure about color, but the car, it was a twin cab.
This woman witnessed the abduction of one of the victims.
That lady never go for one night. And then after like some days, 3 days, I said, it's better to go and report. Like now I'm very, very scared to go like with a person, with a car.
This CCTV footage shows one of Mkhwanazi's final victims arriving at the panel beater's shop with him. She gets out of the vehicle and they walk in together. For over 6 months in 2022, Mkhwanazi lured women to this building. The sheer size of the location meant their bodies remained hidden until October that year, when the caretaker stumbled upon human remains, leading to the gruesome discovery by police.
There was this body that was inside a steel chimney, decomposed to the last degree. The next one, it was inside a bin, also decomposed. One was at the back of the panel van. And then in a truck, there was a body, in a bin also. And there was a complete skeleton body.
The skeletal remains were believed to be those of Mkhwanazi's first victim. A room on the 3rd floor of this building is now known as the slaughterhouse room.
He broke the door handle, so that even if you are passing by, you want to open, you can't because there's no door handle. Only him, he knows how to open. So I think we used a spade to open it or something.
He kept the woman bound, gagged, and repeatedly raped them before eventually strangling them. 2 of the victims were pregnant.
There was blood on the floor, a lot of fluid as well. And then there was some underwear. There was human hair. There was a lot of condoms. The used ones and unused condoms.
Investigators were able to connect Mkhwanazi to the murders through DNA evidence collected from the crime scenes.
In the stairways that going up to that room, there was blood also. Afterwards, we dragged them down to the floor to where now we'll dispose of the bodies.
What puzzled detectives was that 𝗀𝗁𝗀𝗃 had been shot in the head, a departure from Mkhwanazi's usual method.
I don't know why he was fighting with her, or maybe she was tough to die. Her hand was only tied in front.
What was the difference with her?
He evaded all of those details. She might have put up a fight with him, and then upon realizing he was losing the fight, then he decided to shoot.
Do you still have unanswered questions?
Yes. Why did he do it? What was going through his mind when he was doing what he was doing?
The reality is we really don't know what makes someone a serial murderer. And the problem is people try to retrofit the person's past into an explanation.
Forensic psychologist Dr. Gerard Labuschagne interviewed Mkhwanazi ahead of his trial.
When I interviewed him, he said to me that if the sex worker, we did the transaction, there was no fighting, no arguments, no arguing about more money, then she would go home safely. But he said if the sex worker started to argue about money, started to threaten that she's going to call the cops and open up a case if he doesn't pay more, then he knew he was going to end up killing her.
While Mkhwanazi's motives remain unclear, some believe there are clues in his past. At 18, he was arrested for raping a sex worker and spent 10 months in prison, a crime he denied committing.
He definitely attributed a lot of weight to the fact that he had this false allegation against him from a previous sex worker that he had picked up for transactional sex. But again, we always say a lot of people have had bad experiences with sex workers, but they don't go over and end up committing serial murder. So something else had to be present internally in his genes, in his brain structure, that perhaps predisposes him to act in that way compared to other people.
I think something happened to him in prison. He's so young, they will rape him there.
In the circumstances, I reject the version of the accused and find that the accused had acted with premeditation, planning, and had formed an intention to kill the deceased.
Mkhwanazi was convicted on 6 counts of rape, murder, and defeating the ends of justice. He was sentenced to 6 life terms, plus an additional 170 years behind bars.
Were you happy with the sentencing?
We had sleepless nights with the captain working on this case, and we've got conviction. So yes, as a police officer, I'm happy. For the family, I'm happy.
Justice has been done, but it will never bring that people back. They are gone forever.
While justice has been served, 3 of the victims remain unidentified, their families still in the dark. But for those who have found closure, they refuse to let this tragedy define them.
I'm not one to hold grudges. He's going to have to take it up with God and not me. Being angry at him, will it bring back my mother? No. So I chose to forget about him, forget about his existence and everything.